All right, back with another tier list. Let's do the Bong Joon-Ho tier list. This should be fun, as he is a filmmaker that is maybe my favorite filmmaker working today, certainly one of. So definitely, I'm coming at this from a perspective of a fan of Bong Joon-Ho. But yeah, let's get into the list. So first, I should mention that I will not be talking about any of these shorts or any of the anthology films that he has worked on. I'm only going to talk about feature-length films in which he was the only director of, because he has worked on some anthology films, on some shorts, things of that nature, but we'll not be discussing those in today's video. Let's get into it. We're going to go in order. Let's start off with Barking Dogs Never Bite, which is his first film, and one that honestly, I decided when I wanted to make this list, this was the one film that I had to still watch, so I made sure I watched it last week. And to be honest, it took me a while to get through. I think it took me like three sittings to finally watch all of it. And it's not a horrible movie. I don't know why. It did not grab me. I think a big part of it was the characters were not really that interesting to me. Some characters were very flat. The other characters were unlikable, and some were both flat and unlikable, which is difficult to pull off. There is still some interesting stuff, and I would say the final act actually works. It just takes a while to get there, and some pacing issues as well. It's a first feature. There's kind of these mistakes you expect. So I still don't think this is going to be in the one to forget tier. I think this is going to be not his best for me personally. There are people who do like this film a lot, but it wasn't one that really I found too gripping. I should probably mention the what the tiers are. You see the one at the top. We'll get there, but I have the on the obituary. That is the when the person dies, it is this filmmaker who was known for this, and this. Those are usually the top movies. I didn't have in the box set, the one where if you get the box set of the biggest hits, it's usually in there. Then we have Still Good, not his best, and One to Forget at the bottom. And just spoiler alert, there will not be One to Forget. In my opinion, the worst film was his first, and that's really the only movie I would say is one that doesn't work for me. Because his second film, Memories of Murder, is, in my opinion, I think he has three movies that I would say are one of the best movies I've ever seen. I have a list on my Letterboxd, which, by the way, link is in the description. You can follow me there if you want to. But on my Letterboxd, I have a list of my the best movies I've ever seen, and three of those will be on this list. Memories of Murder is one of those. It is going on the obituary. This is very much a David Fincher. I believe Fincher said he was very inspired by this movie and making some of his movies. It's very much that kind of film, of this dark police procedural, but it's definitely not one of those things that, oh, the police are just all in all great guys. In fact, the police definitely, it just dives into police brutality, as Bong Joon-Ho, obviously, we'll talk about it as we get further, but very much not afraid to not afraid to be controversial. Let's just say that. But this film really is incredible. So it's actually based on a stage play, and it tells the story of a real life serial killer who, weirdly enough, was in prison for a different crime. He was on the loose as this film was made, and when he was in prison, he reportedly watched this movie while in prison, which is like a crazy thing to think about. But this film is also where we are first introduced to Song Kang-ho in the Bong Joon-ho filmography. Song Kang-ho is the main character of this movie, or I guess the closest thing to a main character in this film. He is also the dad in Parasite. If you have not seen this one, definitely check it out. I know there are going to be some people probably who have clicked on this video who haven't seen all of his films. This is one I would say this is, if you have not seen it and liked Parasite and like some of Bong Joon-ho's other work, definitely check this one out. So, okay, makes Memories of Murder, and it's a smash hit. It does well financially in South Korea, also does well critically, and even gets some attention overseas. It did get some American attention as well, but yeah, really big hit. He then goes back, though, to making a couple more, short films and things of that nature before finally getting to The Host, which was a massive South Korean film. It was an $11 million movie, which for 2006 in South Korea, that's a lot of money. In watching it, so okay, the story behind the host, the plot of it is there's a company who dumps a bunch of like toxic waste into the ocean. The ocean merges with a sea creature to create this monster. That's the concept. Okay, something we've kind of seen before, but still very fun. The monster itself is, computer animated, and to be honest, doesn't look great in a lot of scenes. I mean, if you see some trailers, you can see that, okay, yeah, the monster itself does not hold up, but when you're watching the film, you really don't care about that because of how well everything else is shot and filmed. Is the fact that the monster is just one part of each shot, that when you're watching it, it still feels more realistic than a lot of modern blockbusters that have $300 million put behind it, because Bong Joon-Ho does such a great job with everything else around the monster itself. So even if that one thing doesn't hold up, the rest of it really does. Again, you do get a lot of political commentary in here. Bong Joon-Ho definitely not afraid to do that. We saw some of it in Memories of Murder, and we see a lot more of it here in The Host. As for the film itself, it's a movie that I very much enjoy. I don't think I would put it in the on the obituary thing. I don't think it's quite on that level, but again, for a lot of people, it would be on that level. It's just that Bong Joon-ho's a really good filmmaker and has made some other ones. I'm still going in the box set, though. Again, if you like monster movies, this is definitely one for you. It also has kind of like a dystopian type of feel to it. So definitely a really, really interesting movie. And again, this is kind of Bong Joon-ho, right? He'll make Memories of Murder, which is a more grounded film, and then he'll go with a monster movie. He's not afraid to get into genre films, which we'll get into later. Bong Joon-ho did make another anthology movie, but then made Mother. So again, going from genre film back to more grounded film, as this is a movie about the mother of a disabled son, who the son gets accused of murder, and it's the mother trying to help get him off of that accusation. And that is the film. And I have to say, this is another one of the best movies I have ever seen. It is on that list. This goes in so many different places. It is not afraid to get to very dark places and ask some really fascinating questions about about the human psyche in general. While this film definitely does get political at times as well, this isn't his most political film, I would say, and I think my favorite things about this one is in large part the characters and what that means, and kind of the thoughts that he explores there. But this is another film I am going to put in the on the obituary tier. Really good stuff here, and I'm not the only person who really likes this movie. This is, again, a movie that did very well critically and started doing very well overseas as well, as he, started to get more attention. I believe this premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, so, he was able to kind of, again, start to build his reputation for people who were into cinema, into South Korean cinema, or just, movies in general. He then bounced over to America to start making movies there, and I always forget that Snowpiercer came before Okja. I think because Okja has a couple of, it's kind of like half in Korean, half in English, that I kind of forget that Snowpiercer was actually his first English-speaking film. So he's been making English-speaking films for 12 years now at this point. Snowpiercer is one that the reception I feel like that it has around it is there are some people who love this movie. I think the general perception is that this is a good movie, but not quite Bong Joon-ho's best, and maybe a step down from the South Korean stuff that he was really good at with Memories of Murder and Mother. I don't even necessarily disagree, but I really like Snowpiercer. I think it's an effective movie, and I also think we learned something about Bong Joon-ho with this film, which is he is someone that, okay, listen, obviously he is capable of really subtle storytelling, and it, in fact, sometimes kind of feels to me like he's choosing to not be subtle in certain ways, and I kind of feel like that's what he did with Snowpiercer. I think he could have told this story in a subtle way, but why? So I enjoy this one a lot. I think it's a fun premise. Yes, there are some, you could call it cheesy moments if you want to, or I would kind of say, I don't know if cheesy is the right word. I'm not really sure exactly how I would phrase it, but I get it. Like, it's not the most subtle film. Like, it doesn't have these certain subtle elements that Parasite does, although Parasite definitely is not afraid to be unsubtle at times as well, but it doesn't necessarily have that it also maybe isn't quite as hard-hitting as something like Memories of Murder or Mother, but I still think it's just a really fun movie and one that still works, so I'm going to put it in the still good category. Okja. Well, speaking of hard hitting, this is the movie that's kind of known for getting people to no longer be no longer eat meat. There was a episode of Poker Face, that TV show, about exactly that, of watching Okja makes you no longer want to eat meat, because it very much is targeting not just meat eating in general, but really factory farming, as Bong Joon-Ho is not vegan. He still eats some meat, but thinks that there is an ethical way to do it and an unethical way to do it, and oftentimes companies choose the unethical way so they can make as much money as possible. That is really what this film is talking about, and I think it's, again, one that has a very clear point. It is not trying to be subtle. It is very much saying, this is my point. And I do find it interesting a little bit that his first two American films both were very clear, and I think he did make it a little bit less subtle. I don't know if that was intentional, or if it was a language barrier, or if it was he wanted to make sure that Americans knew what he was talking about, because there's a lot of people in America. I don't know. It's another movie, though. I really enjoy Okja. I like the dark places it goes, and while I know that not everyone is quite as crazy about it, again, your mileage is going to vary, especially with the dark storytelling that it has here. I put it in the wrong tier. I'm going to put it all the way up in the box set. It's a movie I really like. It's a movie I really enjoy. Enjoy is the wrong word. A movie I really appreciate, and I think it successfully tells the story it's trying to tell. So, yeah, I think Okja is very good. So, okay, he has a nice little 2-movie run in America. Snowpiercer and Okja. Okay, that's pretty good, right? I mean, going back-to-back, most directors would feel thrilled doing those 2 movies back-to-back, but for Bong Joon-Ho, he's kind of set the bar a little bit higher for himself, so he goes back to South Korea, and I couldn't really figure out why he decided this. Maybe he just felt like it was a film that worked better in South Korea. I do know that he did say at one point he was surprised that Americans could relate to it so much, because he thought it was so about South Korean culture, but obviously South Korean culture and American culture have a lot of similarities, so Americans were able to relate to this one. But, I mean, it's probably the most famous foreign language film in America of all time, right? I mean, I don't even know what I would say is up there. I mean, this feels like it was such a phenomenon. It did really well at the box office. It won the Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival, and then became the first ever film to win Best Picture that was not in English, which is just a remarkable feat. I mean, on the obituary, usually the top tier, I had to make a tier higher for this, because, like, yeah, it really is on that level, and I think that the movie is that good. Not only was it, a cultural phenomenon, and I do think that whether this is a movie you enjoy or a movie you're not as crazy about, this does feel like one that is going to make a lot of people's, best movies ever list in 25 years still. Like, it feels like it's going to have staying power. But I just love this movie, and someone said that, on my last, my Mickey 17 review, that I should maybe review this one, and I'll consider that. That's a cool idea, or make a video about this one. What I really like about this film, though, I mean, okay, there's all the political stuff that goes on. I really like that stuff, but I also just like how the story is told. Bong Joon-Ho actually said in the DVD commentary that I listened to, because I have, I meant to show this for a couple of these, but I have Parasite and also Memories of Murder. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Bong Joon-Ho. But on the DVD commentary, one of the things that he brings up about Parasite, a movie that he was inspired by, was Mad Max Fury Road, which seems a little bit surprising, but he said he liked the pacing and how quickly that one moved and how it used visual storytelling to kind of just keep going. And that's exactly what Parasite does. Again, Bong Joon-Ho, it's funny because he almost chooses to be unsubtle at times, but when he wants to be subtle with the storytelling of letting kind of just the things sort of just go and let you pick things up as they go, it just works so well. He's, again, such a master of filmmaking, and that's kind of the best way to describe him. There's so many different ways we can go with this one. It is such an important movie, I think, for film in general, and I do think people are already still now kind of taking things from this film. But yeah, if you're somehow someone who hasn't watched Parasite yet and you're watching this video, what are you doing? Go watch Parasite. If you have watched it, watch it again. It's great. I'm gonna watch it after this, maybe. I don't know. It's cool. I like it. And then finally, Mickey 17. Where do I put Mickey 17 on this list? So again, if you saw my review of it, it seems like I'm a little warmer on this film than most. It seems like a lot of people, I think the general consensus is that this is not his top tier films, but there's still a lot of entertainment to be had in this, and I think I'm probably there. I think I'm going to put it in the still good tier with Snowpiercer, but don't take that as, again, being that low on a Bong Joon-Ho tier list still means it's a good movie, in my opinion. I just had a lot of fun watching it, and I agree with some of the criticism people have said of it being kind of, maybe a little bit messy storytelling-wise. I agree. I think the plotting is a bit messy. It almost feels like, as someone who read the book, it almost feels like he took too much from the book and made a lot of changes, but then left certain threads from the book still there, so they didn't even go anywhere. I agree with that. I do think it's a bit messy plot-wise, but when I was watching it, I didn't really care because I was having fun watching it. The humor worked for me. I had a blast of it. So, not a top-tier Bong Joon-Ho movie, but still good. So that's where I have that film. And yeah, that is the Bong Joon-Ho tier list. Again, one of the best filmmakers I think we have going right now. And yeah, those are my thoughts on Bong Joon-Ho. Check out the Mickey 17 review if you want to hear more of my thoughts on that one. I just posted it yesterday. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.